What's up everyone, and welcome to another video here on Dota Alchemy. We are going to go ahead and throw it back to the tier list type of content that you guys have been asking for a very long time. Ever since 726C dropped, you have been asking for tier lists for it, but I wanted to gather a little bit of data first. I wanted to watch some pro games, I wanted to watch some pro level pubs, I wanted to play a bunch of games and actually get an understanding for the meta, and I feel like I have that now. So prepare for a set of tier lists to be rolled out this week. We're going to start with hard support, and we're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in order. Starting at S tier, and before we actually get into the heroes themselves, I want to give just a quick sort of like disclaimer. I think that the support meta is very dictated by the core meta at the moment because lanes are so important to win. So if you are picking an S tier hero but you don't have the correct combo for it, I would definitely move it down several tiers and maybe look elsewhere for a different hero. Don't just pick Coddle every single game. Don't just pick GRIMSTROKE, Oracle. These heroes need to be comboed specifically with heroes to have their most potential reached. That being said, you can still pick most of the S and A tier heroes with pretty much reckless abandon. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand that the supports really kind of work with their core and lane to be as strong as they are, at least in high level pubs. So starting off, we've got Keeper of the Light. This hero's been around the top levels of support tiers for quite some time, and not much has changed. They nerfed him a little bit, but the fact of the matter is, Chakra Magic pairs insanely well with some of these very low cooldown, high uptime fighting heroes, the Rickies, the Bristlebacks, the Ursas, the Ember Spirits, Void Spirits. All of them love laning and playing with a Keeper of the Light on their team. He still has some of the best tools as far as like just utility in the game. Very good at trading with Blinding Light and can push out waves if nobody is soaking dead lane farm, or you just have like only fighting heroes and nobody's pushing the lanes to set up for those fights. And finally, Will-O-Wisp continues to be probably top 3, top 4 ultimates in the game, just in terms of like how effective it is at disrupting team fights and making it very difficult to play them correctly. So Keeper of the Light is, I mean, he's being picked a ton in high level pubs, in pro games, and he just fits everything that you want out of a 5 right now. GRIMSTROKE is another hero that is doing extremely well in high level pubs, and this one is one of those heroes that you definitely want to be comboing. Luckily, a lot of people are playing heroes like Rickie in the safe lane. Lots of people are playing Phantom Lancers, Ember Spirits, Void Spirits. These are the kinds of heroes that you want to enable with GRIMSTROKE. It's not so much about his ultimate anymore. Obviously, this is still super good, and it remains one of the best lockdown spells in the game, especially for these heroes that are very squishy, that pair well with GRIMSTROKE if you're playing against them. But essentially, think of Inkswell as like it takes a hero that doesn't have a stun. You know, what's a scary hero? Ursa, okay? Now think of Ursa with a stun. If you gave Ursa a stun, how broken would that hero be? If you gave Rickie a stun, how broken would that hero be? Well, GRIMSTROKE does that. And then if you already do have a stun, let's say you're a Sven or something like that, GRIMSTROKE basically just turns Sven into Earthshaker, as well as being a Sven, because he can chain stun people. So not only does he pair extremely well with a lot of these very popular carries right now, but he also does a lot of good things that 5s need to be able to do, which is function without a ton of farm, depush waves safely with Stroke of Fate, and then just set up for tons of team fights with his exclusively fighting based kit pretty much. So GRIMSTROKE, very strong. Again, very combo heavy to unlock his full potential, but you can still pick him in most games. And the final S tier hero is going to be Oracle, and this is a hero that I think everyone has been sleeping on pretty much since it was released, just because his abilities are sort of convoluted at first glance. That being said, I've been experimenting with him a little bit. I've been watching some replays of how Oracle is played, and for the most part, it just comes down to the fact that he has been so overly buffed at this point. If you look at his cooldowns, if you look at his mana costs, they're minuscule. Like, you can do so much damage, you can prevent so much damage, you can do so much healing, and they've been buffing Root progressively over the last year or so, and so now you have Fortune's End, which is a very low cooldown mana cost spell that has up to a 2.5 second root duration unless you take the talent, almost 3 seconds, And roots are almost as good as stuns at this point because you can't use mobility skills when you're in them. So again, very good against heroes like Ember, Void Spirit, Ricky, etc. Lots of these problem heroes. And then, of course, if you can combo him with one of these cheesier heroes, like a Huskar, like a Troll, like a Death Prophet, any of these that take advantage, extra advantage, I should say, of the healing from False Promise is nuts. Probably the best reset hero in the game right now, as far as being able to, have a hero be gone on, you save them, they get out of the fight, and then you go back into the fight with full strength. Oracle, super nuts, and he's just a good all-around support hero. A little bit less aggressive, maybe, than GRIMSTROKE, but still pretty good at fighting early on. Moving on to the A tier, we sort of have a little shift in terms of what we're looking at. Most of these heroes I would classify somewhat as like bruisers. We've got Ogre Magi, who obviously is like the definition of just tanky bruiser hero. You put him in a lane in front of somebody like a Clinks or a Drow or a PL or a Spectre or any of these heroes that has sort of a weak laning stage, and they're going to have a just fine one. Also, I was noticing recently that Ignite does not scale in terms of cooldown and mana cost as you level it up. So this is literally one of the best skills in the entire game to level up. And then finally, Bloodlust obviously is just one of the best support abilities in the entire game. You turn any hero into twice the hero in terms of their DPS pretty much just by keeping that up. And he's just all around solid in terms of being able to, frontline but also provide support utility. SNAPFIRE has just become one of the most sort of reliable supports even after all of the nerfs. Sort of like GRIMSTROKE, you have the ability to take a hero that doesn't have a stun and turn them into one with a stun, which enables a lot of these kill-based heroes that are very popular right now. Again, Ursa with a stun, very scary prospect, or take a hero like a Sven or a Wraith King who already has a stun, and suddenly you've got a pretty nasty kill combo. The ultimate still does a ton of damage and is very, very good with other popular heroes, such as Keeper of the Light, Mars, and these other area controllers. Void's Faceless Void, of course, also very good. And then you even have utility to beat stuff like Pugna's Ward and Phoenix's Egg, which are very popular heroes as well when you look at Lil Shredder. Probably one of the most underutilized parts of her kit at this point. Bane fits into the same kind of category as an Ogre Magi. Just put him in any lane that has a weak hero and you're going to have a pretty fine lane. This hero is almost like 60% win rate, I think, in pro level pubs at the moment, and that's over quite a few games. Seems to be just the exact recipe for success right now in terms of low cooldown spells. A hero that just wants to fight a lot, can have high impact without a lot of farm, just find the right spot, hit a Fiend's Grip for full duration, and in terms of just the ability to disrupt things with Nightmare, you can disrupt pulls, which are very, very annoying. One of the only heroes that can actually just straight up disrupt a pull. If somebody's trying to cut your wave, you just Nightmare them, the creeps de-aggro, and they just go down the lane as normal. And not a whole lot of heroes can stand up to a Bane in lane. It honestly just feels like an all-around pretty good position 5. The one thing that he is lacking is the ability to clear waves, which is why he's on A tier instead of S tier based on that win rate, because specifically in pubs, being able to kind of push waves tends to be something that supports have to do. Moving on, we have Jakiro, and speaking of wave clear, this guy is a absolute master of it. One of my favorite heroes, honestly, at the current time. I watched Owie spam this hero a ton. I know it's kind of on the rise, but not necessarily thought of as top tier in competitive and high level pubs, but his toolkit is just super good. You can keep waves off your tower, you can take towers, you have one of the best stuns in the game for slippery heroes, and then Macropyre, I honestly want them to maybe add a slow to this or something like that. It feels like it's still kind of useless. But at the same time, if you combo it well with, a Mars ult, a Faceless Void, Chronosphere, or something like that, you can get a ton of damage out of it. And to be perfectly honest, at 60-second cooldown, you should just be using this to shove waves. Big wave comes into the tower, drop a Macropyre, or if you need to go, smoke somewhere or gank somewhere, drop a Macropyre in the lane, expecting the next wave to come up, and then head off and your Macropyre will clear it anyway. Also kind of fits into the role of Bruiser because he is so tanky and just does a lot of damage, kind of like Ogre, kind of like Bane. Very good at doing that. Chen is another A tier hero, and the more that I look at Chen, the more replays that I watch, the more that I think that this hero might just be the most insane hero in the entire game if Dota were to be played perfectly every time. Because if you look at Holy Persuasion, this basically gives you a second hero in the lane in terms of being able to trade and harass. So most people, what they're doing is they're taking the enemy range creep in the first wave, and that then just becomes a second hero basically in terms of being able to harass with it, because you have 8 bonus damage, it's got 700 health, so basically the same health as Chen, and you just kind of poke people with it, and then after that you just go for Divine Favor and max out Holy Persuasion and Divine Favor, and suddenly you have just like infinite sustain, and you have infinite harass as well, because you just keep cycling through creeps as you need to. And as you can see, by the time this is maxed out, you're having, you know, all the utility from the creeps that you can grab in the jungle, but also tons of extra damage, which turns into tower push potential, as well as just trading in the lane and fighting people. What we're seeing right now on Chen is that people are literally just going straight mech. No boots, nothing else, just straight mech, and hitting a timing in the early to mid game where you have a mech and a Hand of God. So essentially you have 2 mechs with the Divine Favor amp. Who needs a Holy Locket? You have one built into your hero. And then literally all of the utility you could ever ask for comes from Holy Persuasion. The more I look at it, the crazier it is. If you need HP regeneration reduction for an Alchemist or a Timbersaw, you just pick up a Vul Assassin, one of those little spear guys that keep sniping your couriers. 35% HP regen reduction is the exact same amount that you get from a Spirit Vessel charge or a Scotty hit. Doesn't reduce the lifesteal or healing, but the regen reduction itself is the same from that little guy. If you need a stun, you got several options. You have Mud Golems or Centaurs. If you need attack speed, you got an aura for that. If you need armor, you need a Lich on your team, just grab the Ogre Frost Mage. You need movement speed, you need HP regeneration, you need extra damage. You literally have everything that your team might need in terms of auras or utility from the Chen creeps. Now obviously this hero requires a bit more mechanical skill than most, so that is kind of why I have it at A tier instead of S tier. This has always been a high level pick in pro level games or, you know, tournaments. Chen is just like the ultimate support player's hero in my opinion. You know, this is why Puppey, Kuroki, No-Tail, all of them play this hero at a super high level. He just has everything you want out of a support, and he doesn't require almost any farm to get it done. Winter Wyvern is our final A tier hero, and this one is kind of trending down a little bit. Still very, very good in terms of being able to harass in the lane, push out waves, has a game-changing ultimate, and doesn't really require any farm to be able to do any of those jobs. However, her laning stage is definitely worse than basically anyone else in the A tier, unless you combo with somebody who is pretty strong in the lane, somebody that can take advantage of those slows and be very abusive with that. I'm seeing a lot of people just kind of spamming the waves out with Splinter Blast and just trying to put out as much harass as possible, keep the pressure off the carry by just using Winter Wyvern's damage as sort of like a wall between the carry and the enemy team. But again, it's a hero that has been good for a while, continues to be good because it just does a lot of really, really good things that position 5 heroes need to be able to do. And as we go into the B tier, I'm going to kind of speed things up. Basically, if you have an S or A tier hero, you're pretty much set in terms of supporting. B tier heroes, if you look at them, they are good. They do a lot of damage. They have a lot of utility. They don't necessarily need a ton of farm, but they don't do all of the jobs like some of these S and A tier heroes do. Witch Doctor, not the best wave clearer, but very good at fighting, very good at sustaining in the lane, and has the ability to take down some of these very tanky heroes like Bristleback, Timbersaw, Alchemist, etc. with Maledict. Phoenix has been a very good support hero for a while. Maybe better as a 4, not entirely sure. The laning stage is somewhat iffy, at least in the first couple of levels, and doesn't really combo that well with many of the popular heroes, but still one of the best supports in the game just because he does so much damage and provides so much like team fight impact without a ton of farm requirement. Ancient Apparition is somebody that is not really trending either up or down. It seems to be somewhat of a forgotten hero, which is kind of interesting because we seem to be in this very sustain heavy meta. Not the best laning stage might be the biggest reason for that, but does have a lot of utility and might be a pretty good situational pick against the right heroes. Pugna, definitely just a hero that is extremely strong right now in the current meta. Can be played as sort of like a moving fountain with Tranquil Boots, and probably better as a 4 or a 3 or maybe even a 2, but if you need to play it as a 5 because it's a perfect Pugna game, go ahead and grab it and, you know, be a fountain for your team. Tusk, this is another hero that I saw a few pros playing as 5. It's traditionally a 4, sometimes an off lane, but it can kind of play the same role as like Ogre or Bane or Snapfire in the laning stage. You're very tanky. You can turn any hero that doesn't have lockdown into a kill hero with Snowball and the tag team, and also blocking people off with ice shards. Very high skill cap hero that I have suddenly fallen in love with playing, and actually playing it as a 5 seems to work out very, very well. I would say that in general, playing position 5 in pubs is more flexible than a lot of people think, because people don't play as efficiently as pros do, so there tends to be more farm left on the map, and sometimes just having a 4 as a 5 works pretty well because you're going to be able to become a 4 anyway. Batrider, I'm kind of just sticking him in B tier because he's still pretty good in the laning stage. Definitely has fallen off quite a bit. Maybe more of a C tier support hero. Still a very good hero in general. People are still picking it as an off lane, but he can be a bully if you need him to be. If you need a particularly specific Batrider game, like if you're against a Monkey King, for example, and nobody else wants to play it, you can still pick it up as a 5 and have pretty good impact. Shadow Shaman, another hero that I've definitely been playing a lot of. It seems to be a little bit misplaced in the meta right now. Like, he has ability to have high impact, doesn't need a ton of farm, but does well with farm. And so maybe he's a 4, but he's kind of slow, so he doesn't roam or do a lot of the stuff that 4s are doing right now. I think that he works situationally as a 5, but is not necessarily somebody that you would look to every single game. RUBICK is sort of following the same logic as Tusk. It's a 4 hero primarily, but sometimes you can just play a 4 as a 5. Not necessarily the greatest support in the safe lane because you tend to be pushing waves with Fade Bolt, but you can also, you know, throw people in a tower with telekinesis. You can just be annoying, and if your team looks like it just needs more spellcasting damage, then you have a RUBICK on your team. Crystal Maiden is a hero that is starting to trend upwards a little bit. Not necessarily exclusively as a 5, but in the fight heavy meta, you can never go wrong with Arcane Aura. I still think that this hero trades pretty well in the laning stage based on the amount of damage that she does, but has very, very high mana cost. So you need to come to lane with probably like a Sage's Mask and several mangoes to be able to make it work. But if it is one of those games that you can combo well with maybe a Frostbite or utilize her stun to get some kills, then CM is definitely a viable option, if not the best. Putting Lich in B tier might surprise quite a few people, but this hero is really not winning a lot in high-level pubs despite being picked quite a bit. And I think one of the biggest reasons is that if you look at Lich compared to some of these other A tier heroes, yes, he can bully, yes, he provides a Frost Shield, which is very, very annoying, but other than that, what does Lich really do? You know, he's got Sinister Gaze, which is okay lockdown, but wouldn't you rather just have a Bane with Fiend's Grip? Wouldn't you rather just have a Grimstroke who provides like 3 different types of disable? And then when you have Chain Frost as your ultimate, yes, it does quite a bit of damage if you land a very good one and can definitely carry team fights, but so can Snapfire, so can Keeper of the Light, so can Jakiro or Winter Wyvern for that matter with their damage as well. And these heroes can also push waves. They can also support their hero with heals. They can frontline for their team if necessary, whereas Lich tends to be kind of in the back lines, just throwing around spells and then dying. And I think that while the hero is still definitely good, and again, if we're talking about combos, you know, Lich plus Juggernaut, Lich plus Slark, Lich plus Riki, those are very nasty. Lich plus Ember Spirit for that matter. I think you could probably still get the same type of impact out of a Grimstroke doing the same combo as Lich, except maybe even better, going for kills instead of just kind of like defensively saving your heroes. And then our final B tier hero is Disruptor. This hero is definitely trending down. Still pretty good in the fighting meta in terms of being able to fight early and often with glimpse, but does suffer from not being able to push waves, doesn't provide a whole lot of defensive capabilities in the laning stage, doesn't really have any disable, no true disable. People can always blink out of kinetic field. That's probably one of the main reasons why the hero's fallen off, is that Ember Spirit, Void Spirit, Riki, Slark, none of these heroes really care about Disruptor PL, and they're all very popular. So definitely trending down, but still an okay hero. And finally, as we move down to the C and D tier, these heroes, basically, if you just look at them, I'm not going to go through each one, but if you look at them, aside from maybe Dazzle, they don't really do anything that the B or A tier heroes do nearly as well. We've got a super long cooldown ultimate from Warlock, who can have high impact, but you could also just pick one of these other heroes to do the same thing that Warlock does in terms of sustain, maybe like Oracle, Chen, Wyvern, Pugna, Witch Doctor. They all heal their heroes, and they all have very, very good teamfight abilities that are just easier to use than Chaotic Offering. Nature's Prophet is definitely becoming more and more of an offlaner. People like playing it as a core ever since the Wrath of Nature change and just how the meta has shifted. Vengeful Spirit, just not really that solid. Low range, not good at harassing, has a good save, but other than that, maybe more of a offlaner or some other form of core based on what I'm seeing in high-level games and pro matches. Shadow Demon, this hero is definitely trending upwards, but more so as a 4 than as a 5. Still, I would say if you have the right combo, you could probably pick this hero as an S or A tier hero depending on the game. Undying, another bruiser like Ogre, like Bane, like Jakiro, but if you just compare his impact to those impacts in terms of like the mid and late game, you're probably going to pick one of those 3 heroes every single time. And Treant Protector seems like an okay hero, but again, it's very situational. You have to be in the right lane with the right laning partner, and then once you get into sort of the mid game roaming around team fighting, this hero is not super good at doing any of that. Finally, in our D tier or situational, we just kind of have some memes. We've got some heroes that have sort of shifted roles. Silencer is now more of a core than anything. Zeus was always kind of a meme as a 5. Enchantress, definitely a very good hero. It's situationally. Beastmaster, you can steal creeps. Against Chen, you can steal creeps. Can be played kind of as a bruiser, but probably a bit more of a core. It's a little hard to say where Enchantress falls in the meta at the moment. Omni Knight, just not a great support at the moment. Spirit Breaker, Io, of course, these are more 4s than 5s. Viper, kind of a meme. Lion, I know everybody loves playing Lion 5, and it's being picked situationally by people like Puppy. But again, I would just rather have one of these heroes on my team every single time. Elder Titan, pretty unexplored, probably a decent hero, but nobody's really playing it. And then Puck is a 5 that has fallen off tremendously in all positions, and is kind of just in here because if it's like the perfect Puck game and you need to fit into your draft, you could probably pick it up as a 5. So anyway, that is the tier list for the current patch for hard support. And as I said before, we'll be coming at you with the 4, the 3, the 2, and the 1 role over the next week or so. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you as always for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing and supporting the channel, and we will see you in another video very soon.